Mike Hernandez was a bueno vaquero, rode some good horses, California style. I watched him for hours and he showed me a little of the old California he knew for a while. Started young horses in Bosal y Fiador, onto the Touraine, the old Spanish Spain. Brought them along with two hands that were gentle, some fine reining horses as ever.
Good morning. Happy New Year's, Grace Christian School. I hope you are all doing great today. This is Sheriff P, and I just wanted to get before you. Tomorrow is the first day of school. I had some information I wanted to share with you. This is primarily a COVID show, and there's some important information that I need to get out to all of you, answer some questions, and dispel some rumors and myths that might be out there. But before we get into that, I hope that all of you had an extremely blessed Christmas and a joyous Happy New Year with all of your families. Debbie, Happy New Year to you. Stacy, Happy New Year to you. Thank you so much for our faithful for tuning in. A little bit different. This is a Tuesday, and the weekly roundup is normally on Wednesdays. But I'm sorry, this is a Monday. What am I thinking? Today's Monday, and the weekly roundup's normally on Wednesday. So, hey, we're getting a lot of viewers already. I think we have about 20. But I'm going to go through this and kind of answer some questions. Those of you who have been around Grace Christian School for a long time know that through this entire pandemic, we've operated from a point of common sense, a point of science, and a point of faith over fear. We never let fear get in our way when we made our decisions. We made them based off of solid information, and it has worked for us so far through this entire pandemic, and our goal is to keep that up as we move forward. So here's some information. Yes, school does start back tomorrow, and give me 1 second here. Perfect. All right. So, yes, school does start back tomorrow, and that is Tuesday, January 4th. I know that you're seeing in the news media everywhere, there are schools that aren't starting back. There's schools that are going to distance learning for 2 to 3 weeks. We are not doing that. We are going live tomorrow. First day back tomorrow at 8:30, just like normal. Daycare starts at the traditional time at 6:30 in the morning. But there's some information that you need to know as we move forward. Number one, if your child's not feeling well or if they are sick, you need to keep them home. That has always been the case here at Grace Christian School, and it's not going to change. So here's the additional questions that you might need to know. I know some of you have possibly read that there was a mandate that all students had to be tested prior to coming back to school. That is not true. That was a rumor or a hoax. What the governor did say is that they would be providing at-home testing units for all families in the state of California so their students could be tested. Well, that didn't come to happen. I was in a meeting last Wednesday with the Orange County Department of Health, and they did not have the test. They did not know when they were going to get the test. Supposedly they were on their way, but the state of California was telling them they were being delayed because of weather issues. And so as of today, Monday, I have not received any at-home tests, nor have a number of other public and private institutions around us. So there are no at-home tests to send home to you to give you to test your children. If we do get these tests and we are able to send them home, they are for students only, and they are an antigen variety of test. So I just want to make sure you're fully aware of that. If you hear a neighbor or friend said, hey, I heard they have to take a test before they go to school, that is not factual. So I just want to make sure you have that out there. In that meeting last week with the California Department of Health was providing information to the Orange County Department of Health about these tests. And so we don't know when we're going to get them. If they come in too late, they're really not useful because of the fact that the test was designed to have a healthy classroom environment starting back on the first day of school. So here's some other information you need to know. According to a White House expert, we all know who that is, Dr. Fauci, he said that childhood hospitalizations that we're hearing about in the news are being over exaggerated. This was when in Newsweek, he said that a lot of the hospitals now, if a child is coming in for a tonsillectomy, a broken bone, and they're automatically tested for COVID and they test positive, then they are being recorded as a COVID related hospitalization when that's not actually the case. So I just want to let you know that is something that's out there. In addition, Dr. Fauci said yesterday on this week with George Stephanopoulos, or however you say his name, Stephanopoulos, excuse me, that it is safe to have kids back in school. Now, those are just two things I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that are out there. As we move forward, let's talk about the CDC. The Center for Disease Control came out with brand new guidelines if you happen to be testing positive for COVID. If you test positive for COVID and no matter what your vaccination status is, you're supposed to stay home for 5 days. And if you have no symptoms or your symptoms are improving or you are fever-free for 5 days, you can leave your house after 5 days. Continue to wear a mask for the next 5 days. And if you have a fever at any point, you have to continue isolation. Now, this is when you're fever-free, it means you're not taking any kind of medication. That is the same thing that holds true for us. Now, I am hearing rumors that the CDC is going to be changing this again this week, that in order to come out of isolation or quarantine, you will need to have a negative COVID test. That's becoming extremely difficult because there are no antigen tests readily available. I think that's why the state of California hasn't been able to get them out to us because there's such a run on them throughout the country. So if you have COVID and you tested positive, stay home for 5 days. At the end of 5 days, if you have no more symptoms, you've been fever-free for 24 hours, you can leave isolation as long as you have a mask on, and you have to wear a mask for the next 5 days. Now, the next one is a little different. If you were exposed to COVID, if you've been boosted or completed the primary series of Pfizer or Moderna vaccine within the last 6 months, or you've completed the primary series of Johnson & Johnson within the last 2 months, you only have to wear a mask around others for 10 days. And then on day 5, if possible, they want you to test. So if you're vaccinated and you've been around somebody else with COVID, the Center for Disease Control is saying that you just need to have a mask on, and they would like you to test at 5 days. Now, if you've completed the series, but you haven't had a booster, or you've completed the J&J and it hasn't been 6 months, or you're not vaccinated, they want you to stay home for 5 days if you've been around someone with COVID, and to wear a mask for an additional 5 days. If you can't quarantine, now this is kind of weird, they say if you can't quarantine, then you just have to wear a mask for 10 days and test at day 5 if possible. Now, with all of that being said, I understand that the CDC is wanting everyone to be tested at day 5 after isolation or quarantine to make sure that you don't have COVID. So let's talk about masks. There's a lot of talk in the media recently about masks, and one of the things the subject matter experts are coming out and finally saying that cloth masks really don't make a difference when it comes to COVID. They said that they really aren't stopping the particulates that are coming off of the virus from the Omicron. So what they are recommending is surgical mask, N95 mask, or KN95 mask. Now, the medical experts are going to tell you not to use the N95 because they want to keep those for medical professionals to wear a surgical mask that's properly fitted around your face and tightly around to keep the germs out. I'm sharing this information with you just so that you have factual information from all the research that we've done. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about is being vaccinated. The most recent study that the CDC has on their website, people who have been vaccinated with 2 doses of the Moderna or the Pfizer, it is only 35% effective against the Omicron variant, which means it's 65% ineffective against the Omicron virus. I'm not seeing any research currently on the CDC website about antibodies or if you've had the COVID before. Now, as many of you know, I had COVID last December. I had COVID original, and my most recent antibody test came back that I still am showing antibodies for COVID. Not almost, it's over a year now at this point. So that is out there, but I'm not seeing a lot of research to be able to pass on to you about antibodies. But that is what the CDC is saying for vaccinated people. So what about tomorrow? What are we doing at Grace Christian School tomorrow? Tomorrow is a normal school day. Daycare starts at 6:30. School starts at 8:30. Now, here are some things that are completely different that you need to know. Number one, if you have any since a negative test wasn't required with the more serious original strains to return to real life. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was very strange. And that's only a recommendation, Debbie, at this point. They're saying if at all possible. So, I think the state of California was pushing that. The CDC is not requiring it. They're just saying if possible. So let's get back to tomorrow at school. Here's what to do. If your child is not feeling well, or if they are sick, they need to stay home. There's no question about that. There's no need to email the school. There's no need to call the school or ask anything. Sick students need to stay home. If there is someone in your home with COVID, we want that child to stay home and at least for 5 days. And then contact Christy at Christy's COVID Corner, and we will talk about how we get back into the process of going to school. The next thing I want you to know is if you have a question about isolation, quarantine, you've been in contact with someone's had COVID, or you have COVID or your child's had COVID, don't email the school tomorrow expecting a reply right away. How we're going to be handling tomorrow morning in order to get through the most people is via a phone call. Call the school and Christy will be answering questions directly with you. We calculated it's going to be quicker to do that because we are finding about 70% of the emails that we get from you asking questions about COVID require follow-up questions from Christy or even a phone call. So in order to save time, we're just asking you to call the school if you have a question, the number 714-761-5200, and ask for Christy. And if she's on the phone, we'll take your number and she'll call you right back. And that way we're able to answer the most questions as possible. If you do have a question that you want to email her, you can email her, but she will not be getting to those until later in the day. So if your child's sick, keep them home. If they come to school and they're sick, then we're going to send them home and they're going to have to stay home the rest of the week. So remember, if you have a question, call the school tomorrow. What are we doing to keep your child safe? Before I move on, it says, my husband still has antibodies after more than a year. Yep, I'm finding that with a lot of different people. So that seems to be true. Let's see. What are we doing? We're sanitizing the classrooms every day. We have a fogger. We have multiple foggers. We have sanitizers. We have a great facilities teams that keeps things clean. And we are continuing our air circulation, which appears to be one of the greatest things, is keeping the air fresh and changed over with all of our fans. We do have industrial grade air purifiers in every single classroom on campus. We have those in the office. We have them in sick bay. We have them in the multi-purpose room. We have them in every office. So as far as air purification, we've got that handled. We've got air circulation handled. We've got sanitation handled. Another thing is we have antigen tests. Something that is changing starting tomorrow, at least for the next week or so. Before we were offering, if you wanted an antigen test, just give us a call. We'll give it to you. We're not doing that because our supply is limited. We are using those antigen tests to keep students in school. So if you were someone who wanted like a weekly antigen test for your child, just for peace of mind, we are not going to be able to do those. We will do a PCR test for you instead because we have a lot of those, but the results for a PCR test is about 48 hours because we have to send them off to the lab. Also, we were graciously giving antigen tests to our extended family siblings who were going off to other schools, who have been to Grace. We're not going to be able to do that right now until we get a handle on how many antigen tests we have. Is the state actually going to come through with some at-home tests? And then we should know more information about that either on Wednesday or Thursday. Let's go over to some comments real quick. So grateful for all the efforts you do to keep our kids healthy and safe, and while keeping up with the changing info. Thank you, Debbie. Yes, the changing info is basically by the minute. And I am going to delete this comment because I don't know what VUM.ONG is. So let's see. I'm not quite sure how to do that. But anyway, thank you, Debbie. Yes, we're doing everything we can to keep the kids safe. And I'm sure this is something that isn't appropriate. So let's see what this is. And we're going to try to delete this. Let's see here. How do I delete? Let's see. Delete. Well, I can't delete that comment right now. So I will when we go through. But thank you, Debbie, for the comment. So yes, as we continue going through, we will have PCR tests available for anyone that wants them, but antigen tests we will only be giving as we see fit in order to keep students in school. Right now, the modified quarantine program is still in place by the state. When I was in that meeting last Wednesday with the Orange County Department of Health, they stated that the state of California was going to be coming out with new guidelines within 24 hours. It's now been 5 days, and we still haven't received anything from the state of California. So, in recap and summary, if your child's home, keep them home. If your child's sick, keep them home. Don't send them to school tomorrow. If you have a COVID question tomorrow, you will get a faster response by calling the school. Do not come to the office to ask a COVID question, because if you're sick or you've been exposed, we don't want you in the office exposing others while we answer your question or get to you. It's better that you give us a phone call. We will be giving antigen tests as we see necessary to keep students in class, and we will be reevaluating that policy within a few days to see if we can continue to offer tests to our extended families, our parents, and our siblings who aren't at the school in order to keep all our families safe. We do have PCR tests available for everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Benna. It is deleted. Thank you. Awesome job. I appreciate you doing that. And so that's what we're stressing to you. Call the school, 714-761-5200. Call your questions into Christy. We will answer them as quickly as possible. The office opens at 7 a.m. if you want to call. If the line's busy, call back. And if Christy has a call going and she had just started it, Barbara will take your number and Christy will just be going right down the list, returning those calls as quickly as possible. You might even get a call from me. I'll be helping Christy respond to those calls so that we can keep getting kids in school. And school starts normal time, 8:30. I'm sorry, boys and girls. School is coming back. We are excited to see all of you. Tomorrow, it is going to be very exciting to start the new year out. We've got a lot of great things planned. The cow is back on the schedule, and he's supposed to be out in February. So those of you who are looking forward to the cow, he's coming back. We got some great field trips planned if they don't get canceled by the outside world. And this is going to be a marvelous year. So parents, just continue to keep our entire school in prayer. We keep it covered in prayer. We pray for all of you every day. So working together, we'll make it through the school year and we'll continue on. Don't forget, re-registration packets go home tomorrow. Get those in as soon as possible because there is a waiting list that we'll be going to in February as we start. To all of you who tuned in today, let's see here. There are 67 people between Facebook and YouTube watching right now. I can't thank you enough. School starts tomorrow. Don't send your student to school sick, and have a blessed day. We'll see you later.
Got a about a cat, bitty, bitty, about a cat, bitty, bitty,